What's good, everybody? Welcome to the first official episode of Talk Your Talk Sports Podcast with your boy, Big Pat Sports Talk. This is a podcast, man, where I get my fellow content creators and we just talk our talk about any and every sports subject, man. And I'm proud to have my two very first guests, Mr. Unpopular Opinion Sports himself, aka NYG 22. Salute. And everybody knows your favorite. He's a pastor, whatever you want to call it. I got my boy E the Chosen, and we're going to talk our talk, man. So let's kick it to the intro. And, man, we finna talk, man. Might be controversial. You never know. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Rising Kev, Raisin Man.
All right. Hey, first official episode of Talk Your Talk is on the way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let my special guests introduce themselves and let you know where they can find you. And we're going to get into these topics right after these. Let's get it. NYG, tell them where you is, man.
You already know Unpopular Opinion Sports, member of the Big Blue Crew Sports Network, man. Shout out to the network. You can definitely find me on Unpopular Opinion Sports and NYG22 on Twitter and wherever these guys are. Pretty much, I'm around with E the Chosen, Big Pat Sports Talk. Those are my brothers. So we're doing big things with the Big Blue Crew Sports Network. So shout out to the network, man, and go subscribe to Unpopular Opinion Sports, where I'll be dropping my Unpopular Zone coming in 2025. That's gonna be a special segment, man. So look out for that, man. But yeah, man, appreciate you, Pat, man. Thanks for having me on the very first episode of Talk Your Talk, man. I can't wait to talk my talk, man. I got a lot to say.
Yeah. Y'all know what time it is. Yeah, here we go. He the chosen one, man, from the Bronx and Harlem HBO, representation of the Shakedown Media Network. That's where you guys can find me, E_the chosen one on Twitter, or you can catch me at a local game in the parking lot in the J, or in the seats in the 200 rows or close to down to the field, doing what I do best, man. First of all, I want to say shout outs to Big Pat for blessing me today, man, and allowing me to be here on this very first episode. You know, when everything is a first, you got to do what you got to do. But I wouldn't be either chosen one if I wasn't on the first episode. And I'm definitely ready to talk my talk. Shout outs and salutes to all that's watching. Like and subscribe to the tribe. And that's what it is, man. Shakedown Media Network representation. Let's get it.
All right. So you got those introductions from NYG22, Unpopular Opinion Sports, and E the Chosen one. NYG22 representing the Big Blue Crew. You know, I'm part of the Big Blue Crew. And E the Chosen representing the Shakedown Media. Hey, we might got something in the works together. You never know. We do what we do. So, but we get ready to talk our talk. So these two good brothers, man, they told me about some things that they just want to talk about. So the very first subject is we going to be talking about the Giants' recent backlash of drafting probably the first black quarterback actually drafted by the New York Giants as their number one pick. As you know, the Giants came off a victory against the Colts, so they probably dropped down to the number 4 pick, but they are still in prime position to take one of these black quarterbacks. Now, these two gentlemen, this is a controversial subject. So they're not trying to hurt feelings. We're just talking our talk. We're talking truths. They're going to let me know who wants to start off first. and then we're gonna talk our talk, man. So let's get into it.
House rules. So I will let my brother NYG start off, and I'll follow up on whatever the question is.
All right, man. So if we're doing Shedeur Sanders versus Cam Ward, I've been a component for 2 years now of I think Shedeur Sanders was the best college quarterback in college for 2 years. I've been saying that, So if I'm choosing between the two, I'm picking Shedeur Sanders for several reasons. One, processing ability. I like my quarterback to be able to see the field fast, to be able to process fast. Anticipation on throws, tight window throws, intermediate throws. You also got the leadership factor. You see him pulling Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter to the side, screaming at him because he dropped the pass. Things you haven't seen from a New York Giants quarterback since Eli. And Eli very rarely was demonstrative like that on the sideline. He was a quiet leader. So I like Shedeur for those reasons. Not to say Cam Ward is a bad quarterback. He does have extreme athletic potential, but to me, Shedeur is closer to what I want in a complete quarterback. And he won't get it twisted. He's not a quarterback that doesn't have wheels, that can't scramble. You know what I mean? And it comes from a legacy coming from Deion Sanders, the kid, then working with Tom Brady, some legendary quarterbacks. Been around legends his whole entire life, pretty much, with Deion, with his dad being Deion Sanders. So those are the reasons why I prefer Shedeur Sanders over Cam Ward. So we could just start there with the conversation, because I feel like Shedeur Sanders is the number one quarterback in this draft. And if you're a team like the Giants that obviously need a quarterback, you should be looking to get the best prospect in this draft. So we could just start there, and I'm going to kick it over to E on one day.
Okay. Well, overall, like you said, there are many things that I'm not going to be able to argue with about what you said about Shedeur Sanders. The only problem that I have with Shedeur Sanders is not Shedeur Sanders. The kid brings a star power, processing ability, accuracy. He can make throws that on all three levels of the field, short, intermediate, and deep passes. Of course, having a great receiver in Travis Hunter, to me, that doesn't take away from what he does. It actually adds to it, because that means that when he gets into this league, which if he's with the New York Football Giants, he'll have another number one wide receiver that needs him as a quarterback and also needs as a wide receiver, which will be Malik Neighbors if he is drafted by the Giants. The only problem I have with Shedeur Sanders, like I said, is not Shedeur Sanders. It's Brian Daboll. I'm afraid to allow Brian Daboll to get his hands on a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, which is more of a traditional pocket passer, which is more of a surveying of the field. And we all know that plays have to take time to develop. So guess what that means? You have to have a comprehensive offensive line for him to do damage the way he should. We don't have either one. We do not have either one. We do not have a line right now that I trust in front of a guy like Shedeur, and we don't have a head coach that I trust to develop him. He is star power incarnate. He is the Sanders. His name carries a legacy. So therefore, his father will also want his child to be exactly what he was, which is a star, developed, and a winner. That is three things the Giants lacked in the last 2 years, although this kid has been the number one prospect. My mindset says Cam Ward. The only reason why, the star power may be dumbed down, the throws are the same, the processing ability is definitely there, but Shedeur has one thing less than Cam Ward: body type. I believe that the body type of Cam Ward, which is a little bit taller, a little bit bigger, but also a lot more athletic type, is what Brian Dable may be able to work with in terms of a black quarterback, in terms of a quarterback period, moving forward. You see how I mentioned the term black quarterback, because that's the topic tonight, and we will not move off of that. So it is Shedeur Sanders is the number one prospect overall. My trust for him is not him, it's Brian Dable, but Cam Ward is definitely the pick in my mind due to overall athleticism and the ability I think Brian Dable would be able to use better.
Okay, so you heard these two gentlemen, give their ideas of who the Giants should draft, which black quarterback the Giants should draft. My man NYG, unpopular opinion, he's going with Shedeur Sanders. He's talking about legacy. He's talking about just the pedigree of the quarterback, and he's been training with people like Tom Brady. He's been training with people like his father, who's an all-time great in himself. His whole life, he's been called grown since he was 12 years old because he's always had that mental processing, which our quarterbacks have lacked since Daniel Jones has been here. And my man, Eda Chosen, he's going with the more athletic, the more raw ability of Mr. Cam Ward. And let's not get it twisted. He can process. He's not a dummy. And I do believe he could give you more exciting plays than what Shedeur Sanders does. I'm not going to be mad if they pick either one, but those two brothers give you their opinions on who or which black quarterback the New York Giants should draft. So we're going to kick it to a quick little swoosh, and then we're going to get into the meat of this Talk Your Talk, man, because it's about to get crazy. All right, so as you heard, he said he did not trust Brian Dable with either one of the quarterbacks, or John Mara letting Joe Shane select one of these quarterbacks coming up. And I kind of agree with him, but after that last game, I'm quite sure both of them will be back. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the Giants' black history. Now, this is going to be a controversial subject. These two brothers, they're not running, they're not hiding, they're ready to talk. And let's talk about it, man. The Giants' black quarterback history. I'm gonna let you guys start it off. I'm gonna let you guys talk. Yeah, doesn't exist. NYG, you went last, so E, kick it off. Kick us the actual factuals, as you say.
First, we're going to go into the black quarterback history. There is none. There is no black quarterback history unless there was a free agent or if I'm not mistaken, I don't know the year, and I don't want to get the year wrong, but I think it was 1996, maybe. I think it was Andre Brown in the 4th round. Somebody can fact check me. But the New York Football Giants have never drafted a Aboriginal quarterback in the 1st round, which is starting to give a lot of people some thoughts, especially after last week's win, right? This Sunday's win against the Indianapolis Colts put the New York Football Giants right now in 4th place, which have fans fearing that another loss, which will drop us down to, I think, either the 8th or 9th spot, is purposely done. Now, my mindset doesn't really go that far, but there have been things controversial in the past on John Mara's watch and also within the organization that allows people to feel that we actually are rooting for a racist organization, and that this past weekend was a purposely done act so we do not have to choose an Aboriginal quarterback at 102. Now, these are not my words, but these are things that the fans are saying. These are things that are buzzing around us, and that's why we're having this Talk Your Talk. And there's a lot of controversy swirling these comments. So I'm here to add some context to these type of conversations, and my brother is here to add the advocacy on both sides. And we're going to get to the meat and potatoes and the heart of this matter, whether you agree or disagree. But there's going to be a conversation about it, and we're here to have it. Over to you, NY.
Yeah, that quarterback you speak of was Andre Woodson, and he was drafted in 2008.
Thank you.
Man, but yeah, it's been, never for the New York Giants. Now, here's what I want to talk about as well. It's not just the black quarterback, so to speak. It's the fact that the Giants have never had a black coach. As far as I know, they have one general manager who everyone scapegoats as the worst general manager the Giants have had since, even now, over Dave Gettleman. And it's just the face. You know what I'm saying? The face of the franchise has never been black, so to speak. You know what I mean? Now people will say, well, Saquon Barkley was a running back. Odell Beckham Jr. was a wide receiver. Everyone and their mama know that the quarterback is the one who gets the most attention on the football team. Therefore, by de facto, he is normally the face of the franchise.
Right.
And in other situations, it's the head coach, like with Pittsburgh, with Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? The Giants don't have either. So, and haven't had either. And they continue to bark up the Belichick tree, which is also suspect. They continue. It's like this franchise, they're not feeling the vibe of their own team. They don't have a pulse on their own team, on their own fan base, on their own market. So it's beyond even what's on the football field. The Giants are stuck in the 70s as an organization. They just hired Joe Shane, who is analytical, and everybody hates this guy. But guess what? The Eagles use analytics. The Chiefs use analytics. All these teams use analytics, which everybody complained about with Dave Gettleman.
Right.
So why is it that the Giants as an organization stay in that place? Now, it's not just about the color of the person. It's about the person. You had an opportunity to hire Brian Flores. You had an opportunity to hire Louis Riddick. Those guys didn't get those jobs. Those jobs went to Dave Gettleman, who some say is one of the worst ever, and Brian Dable, who everybody ran out of town right now. So it's not even about the color. You picking the wrong people, and on top of that, you're overlooking candidates because of image. Go ahead.
So let me ask you two brothers something to get, let's get a little deeper. There's things that's called racism, and then there's things that's called preference.
Right.
There is a difference. Racism is pure stupidity. It's pure, I hate you because of the color of your skin, and I don't want you around me because the color of your skin, or whatever denomination you are, whether you're black, white, if you're just going against those people because they're just a different race from you, that's pure stupidity and dumb. Preference is like a prejudice. It's still ignorant, but it's just like you don't want to give that person a chance because you have your preference of what you believe is right. As far as, let's just talk about it, what we're talking about, the quarterback position. Everybody knows that the New York Giants, their main fan base is the older white gentleman. Let's just keep it real. The older white gentleman is going to be dominant in this Giants fan base. And there's a lot of guys that, they would try to hype up other quarterbacks like a Drew Aller or Nussmeier or Jackson Dart, is because just their preference. It's just what they've seen. They went from Phil Simms to Hostetler to Kent Graham to Dave Brown to Kerry Collins, Kurt Warner, Eli Manning, all these type guys.
Right.
And you can say that's what they're used to. That's what they believe is right. Then you have the racism guys that don't want him because of the color of their skin, which is stupid. And the guys that are on the preference side, they don't want any part of Deion Sanders for whatever reasons they have. He's too loud or he's too involved. So I want you guys to talk about, do you think it's more racism or do you think it's more preference?
Okay. Well, I want to be able to touch these subjects because they're very, very, very sensitive. So I want to rule out some of the things that people may say. How is it that we are a racist organization with these accomplishments? Now, I'll bring up three. In 1948, the Giants actually took a defensive back named Emlyn Tunnell, right? You guys may have heard that name before, right? He was actually the first black defensive back taken, right, in NFL history, and he's also the first black Hall of Famer, right? Mm-hmm. So that speaks volumes for a fan base when back in 1948, we all know what was happening. World War II was just coming to, and then it was a lot of prejudice, racism. The country was in turmoil. So for a sports organization back then to take a chance on a defensive back in Emlyn Tunnell and then him becoming the first black Hall of Famer in NFL history speaks volumes. Then in 1976, guess who was hired? Someone who's actually here till this day. The actual first black physician in NFL history, Ronnie Barnes, who's with us today, right? First black athletic trainer in NFL history, and he's with the team today. Then guess who else? Who NYG have formerly mentioned. In 1994, guess who we hired? Jerry Reese, the very first black executive to ever win a Super Bowl. General manager in NFL history. So those are the pushback things that someone will mention in our black history for a team which is now looked at as racist in certain areas, or that topic has come about. But let's talk about preference. Pat, you mentioned preference is the stupidity of racism, right? There's a problem when preference becomes ignorance, which allows it to become racism. But racism is embedded in you, so it continues on, which allows you to have a certain preference. Now I'm going to reference that by saying this. Do you guys remember the Colin Kaepernick issue? If you don't, I will remind you, right? John Mara came out of his face during the Colin Kaepernick issue. When Colin Kaepernick became a free agent in 2016, and he started to kneel due to systemic racism, it was his way of protesting. It caught on around the league. A lot of teams definitely backed their players. And it was very controversial. I think everybody who knows sports history knows about this act, right? Which actually eventually didn't allow Colin Kaepernick back into the league. Some say blackball, some say whatever they want to say. We call it exactly what it is. Blacklisting. John Mara had a conversation at that time. And I want to make sure I quote it correctly. He said, all my years being in the league, I never received more emotional mail from people than I did about the issue. If any of your players ever do that, we are never coming to another Giants game. This was one or two letters that he read off per quote from New York Giants fans. This is where preference plays the biggest role. As an owner, do the fans dictate the players that you bring onto your team? Or as an owner, does an owner show face by doing exactly what's right? That is a question that anybody could answer when they get that question or they heard me say it. In my mind, this was the very first strike of a chord of Aboriginals that were New York Giants fans that allowed us to take a look at John Mara past the imagery. It opened up a deeper issue and thought process for us all, because he was speaking about a subject he was never asked about, and Colin Kaepernick at that time was not even thought about. We had Eli Manning, Geno Smith, and Josh Freeman, I think, on the roster at that time as the three quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So we already had a team with three QBs we were carrying. Why would John Mara open up his mouth about fan mail on a controversial, emotional subject when America just happened to be glued to their TVs, glued to their radios, and in an emotional state of panic as African Americans were being killed all around the country with systemic racism? Food for thought. It was a preference which derives from racism.
Okay, I literally forgot all about that. I do remember him speaking on the whole Colin Kaepernick situation when it was going down. I forgot about him reading off the emails from, like I said, those older white gentlemen who pretty much pay the bills for the New York Giants. Let's keep it real. And said if you bring that whatever that was to the New York Giants, we will never come back again. And I do remember that part. That was good stuff, and that's really eye opening. So that shows you that there is a preference here with the ownership, not just the older white fans or the ownership. He's the reason why they have that mindset. To be honest with you, like NYG always says, you got to look from the top to the bottom, and you got the top first. Yeah, we can dig a little deeper into it, man.
Let me say something real quick, Pat. So when we talk about racism, I want people to understand this. Racism is about power. You know what I mean? That's why I always say what Pat just said, you got to start at the top down. Everybody looks at this quarterback situation as the Giants being racist. No, you got to look at the organizational structure of every NFL team. There's very little black coaches, very little black general managers, and no black owners. It's not the Giants y'all are mad at. It's the NFL. That's number one. Number two is, look, it is about preference. And the fans do dictate what John Mara does a lot of times. I've been one to say this on a number of occasions. It's a reason why they brought back Daniel Jones. It's a reason why they've never had a black head coach or black quarterback. There's reasons for all these things. And it does start at the top. You know, the fans and the media are involved. The media is used as a voice for John Mara. This is why you have random media members coming out defending a head coach and a general manager that had 2 wins at the time. When in any other situation, they would be calling for these guys to get fired. It all comes from the top. Stop being fooled. to thinking that the quarterback is the most important thing, that the Brian Day was the most important thing, or Joe Shane. It is a John Mara issue. It's a John Mara issue. And he has a huge seat at that NFL table. So a lot of times he gets what he wants. And if he don't want no, you know what? Guess what? Ain't no you know what gonna be the quarterback of the New York Giants. But now there's a different spin, because as I mentioned, the NFL as a business is evolving. You can't get away with that mentality like that no more. You're gonna get called out. You're gonna get put on blast. You're gonna lose money, dog. So again, it ain't about the old school football, running the ball and, you know, playing this good defense and all that. It's about your organizational structure and what you're promoting to your fan base. What you're promoting to your fan base is an organization that would do anything out of their power to avoid taking a black quarterback. How many people you think signing up for that? Except those old dudes. And guess what, John Mara? They don't live forever, dog. Eventually, you're gonna have to turn it on over to the new generation and get with the program. Go ahead, man.
I want to dig. No. I don't want that to go over our viewers' head. I want to dig deeper into that thought process. I want to talk about the financial aspect of football. Let's talk about this season alone. The New York Football Giants got rid of their best offensive player in Saquon Barkley. Ticket sales dropped. Jersey sales dropped. Giants games were $1 at some point, regardless to whatever the case may be. I don't think people understood what I just said, so I'll repeat it, because sometimes the things I say, people may not understand. New York Football Giants games were $1. Because of the fact that nobody wanted to watch the product on the field. Guess what a Shador Sanders or Cam Ward brings to this organization financially? Jersey sales, star power, filling seats. Guess what it brings? So you can't get away with not bringing a guy like that to an organization, because guess what you actually show the fans? Your preference. And after a while, your preference starts to get looked at in an unconscious way. Is this inherited? Meaning, as with racism is always, it's an inheritance. Is it unconsciously done because you are prone to doing it? Because it's your preference? Because racism is unconscious. It's a way of life. It becomes a lifestyle. It's your habit. It's your taught. It's your upbringing. It's a procedure, literally. So once again, we're eliminating racism as a word of throwing it around and saying that's what it is. But preference breeds the thought of racism. Look at exactly the Giants organization right now. During that Colts game, you could hear a pin drop on offense and defense. You know why? Because while you're looking for the goody two-shoes guy who's in the suit and tie, he's not as talented, nowhere near as star-powered, and nowhere near as the moneymaker as certain guys who may have had some things that are going on in the past. But doesn't football allow us to look past those things, because we understand a past is a past, a future is a future, and no man should be judged off his own merit, especially if it's before he arrives somewhere? Guys like Joe Mixon, let's talk about that. Controversial player. Domestic violence, all on camera. Look what goes on. The whole world. Oh my God. This guy should not be drafted by an NFL team. Went on to be a running back star for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now he's a running back star for the Houston Texans. Joe Mixon's past has not been brought up in the last 6 years. You know why? Because Joe Mixon is putting behinds in the seats. Joe Mixon is selling jerseys. Joe Mixon is keeping the franchise relevant. Joe Mixon is scoring touchdowns and having the crowd ooh and ah. And I think that is one of the things that we don't give enough emphasis to. This is a financial institute that runs on who is actually in a jersey on the field. So he will be called out if there is a preference. He will be called out in a way by the fans that he is right now, and it will be under a microscope because we are no longer fools. We have reached an age and stage, and you cannot hide a thing like that anymore, especially in today's technological era and the social media era. You cannot run from it, and we're not going to run from it tonight.
And you know what was crazy about that, E, is the NFL is actually promoting the black quarterback. Yet and still, the Giants, seeing that, still are reluctant to go that route. Think about who the top quarterbacks are. Matter of fact, let's name the top quarterbacks that ain't colored, because that's easier to do. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Herbert, if you want to throw
Justin
him in there.
Herbert.
You know?
And up and coming guys like Drake May, who no matter what his record is, these broadcasters, that's the guy. Look at his throws. Look at his heart. That's what the New England fans come here for. Even though their record is not where it wants to be, they know they have their guy, right? And I'm sorry if I don't really talk like that.
He's barely thrown more touchdowns than interceptions.
And they did it with Trevor Lawrence.
And they love him.
You want to know
what I'm saying? They did the same thing with
Come
Trevor
on, let's
Lawrence.
talk about it.
This is your Talk Your Talk podcast. This is where I get to sit back and chill, but I got to say something about this whole Drake May thing. This is where I know that there's a preference, because most of everybody last year was saying you got to trade up the farm to get a Drake May to number 3 with the Patriots.
Come on now.
Give your old 2024 draft and your 2025 draft. We got to get that quarterback. But now when we win a game and drop to number 4, and people like me and NYG say we're still in a good position to get Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, we may have to trade up and give just a extra draft pick to go up there and get them, because it's probably going to be from 4 to 2 or 4 to 3. I don't want to do that, man. You trade that draft pick, you get a whole haul. It's stupid. I wouldn't trade. No, why are you giving up draft capital to go get a quarterback? But that's what you said all last year when it came to Drake May, because everybody knew the Commanders and the Bears were taking Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, number 2.
Right.
They were not moving off those 2 picks. The only one that had a chance was the Patriots at number 3, and they were asking for an astronomical price that the Giants weren't willing to pay. But you were willing to pay that price for Drake May, but you're not willing to give a quarter of the price for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, which one they love. That's the stuff that brings up the racism talk. That's the stuff that brings up the preference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and these are coming from younger fans too. It's not just the older fans, it's coming from younger fans too.
Yeah.
We were just, getting blasted on the Twitter space that I didn't even know about and I don't pay attention to. But why would you listen to those guys? You don't trade up and get quarterback. You don't trade up and get no Shedeur Sanders. But if we would have came out and said, yeah, you got to give up 3 years draft to get Drake May, we would have been the smartest guys in the room.
Let's talk about something, Pat. Shedeur Sanders is a better prospect than Drake May.
Let's talk about that.
What changed from any quarterback is better than Daniel Jones? What changed?
Let me ask you a
Shador
question.
Sanders any quarterback? Is it Cam Ward any quarterback? What changed? Go ahead, E. Talk your talk, man.
We're talking preference, right?
Yeah.
I have to bring it up because it's a real thing. And I'm unapologetic. When is the last time a black quarterback was actually on the Giants board that was actually in reach that we could have taken but didn't?
Penix.
Thank you.
Last year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, my question, why was J.J. McCarthy spoken about so much?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why was J.J. McCarthy spoken about so much? Why was Drake May spoken about so much? Was Drake May or J.J. McCarthy a better talent than Michael Penix? Not in
No.
my opinion. Not in my thoughts.
Not even close.
Not even close. Thrower of the football, Michael Penix was the best thrower of the football out of last year's draft.
And that's a fact.
No question about it, hands down. Then we come to find out, before we played Atlanta, Brian Dable actually scouted him and all these great things about him, but wouldn't draft him. Had J.J. McCarthy above him and also Drake May. See, these are the things of preference that make us look over and say, okay, wait a minute. You're sitting here raving about this kid and talking about how great he is and how he can throw the football on all levels, but yet and still you wouldn't pull the trigger and draft him? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Jones would have been gone and Michael Penix would have been starting games. And it would have cost us nothing. So this is why the younger fans, when they look at things, yell out racism, because they don't really understand the process of racism, the inheritance of racism, and the unconsciousness of racism. These younger generation kids are more woke conscious and social media and technological based than we were. They're more correspondent. We were more interactive. So everything now is correspondence. All these quarterbacks that get drafted, they're on Twitter. All these quarterbacks that don't, they're on Twitter. All these players in the NFL, they're on social media. So they're telling their stories while it's actually in reality TV. We didn't get that much coverage when we were coming up. So we got a chance to see it for what it really was. But you can't hide no more. The lenses are on you. So as Pat aforementioned, preference is what's starting to start and spark this talk of racism. We got to be careful. We got to be careful.
Yeah, preference is always the first level. Preference is always the first level. Preference is the one that opens the door to bring in that ugly head and that ugly, horrible face of racism. But the reason why it's so strong is because this Giants brass of John Merritt and their preference is so strong, it feels like racism. I'm gonna keep it a buck. It feels like racism because their preference is so strong. But you can have a real strong preference because you've made money with Phil Simms. You've made money with Kerry Collins. You've made money with Eli Manning. You've made money with these guys. You have. And that's when you had your most successes, when you had those type quarterbacks. So I get it. But when you have this in your face and everybody's literally telling you from Jerry Jones all the way down, your whole division is telling you, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, who's the last to get on that train? John Mara. See what I'm saying? So, yes, it's going to rear its ugly head, and yes, it has to be talked about. And yes, if they don't draft one of these two kids, racism is going to have you're going to have a loud lime green suit and he's going to be talking shit. I'm telling you, if they don't draft one of these kids, let's say they take a Jackson Dart, or it had to be even crazier. he would be talking shit in a lime green suit if they just took an offensive tackle or the best edge rusher or the best defensive tackle. But if they draft a Jackson Dart or they draft I think that's the only one that's came out because I think Nussmeier and Aller went back to school.
The top 3 quarterbacks are black because you got Jalen Milroe in there.
Yeah, if Milroe decides to come out.
So if you pass on all of them, and go with Jackson Dart or Dylan Gabriel,
or Dylan Gabriel, it would be a travesty, but he got one foot in the door already. You know what I'm saying? And he's gonna have his whole arm in the door before the draft because people are gonna talk about it. That's why I'm doing your Talk podcast now. People are gonna talk about it, and they have a reason to talk about it. It really doesn't make any sense.
I'm gonna say something real quick, Pat.
Go ahead.
Now, think about this though. As I mentioned earlier, you gotta understand who's on your team. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand you got a dog in Malik Neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Daniel Jones, for all he was, good guy, good teammate. He ain't no dog. You know what I mean? Dogs roll with other dogs. You know what I'm saying? So, right. You know what I'm saying? So now you want somebody, a leader, to match the energy of the best players on your team, to bring out the best in the players on your team. You know what I'm saying? All accounts, Shedeur Sanders has done that. You know what I'm saying? He brings out the best in Travis Hunter. You know what I'm saying? He brings out the best in Horn and a lot of those guys on that Colorado team. You know what I mean? So I'm speaking on that as in think about the culture. You think Daniel Jones, you think Malik Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt and Tyrone Tracy and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and them want to play with Shedeur Sanders, or you think they want to play with Jackson Dart? Now, it's no shot at Jackson Dart. You know what I'm saying? So don't get it twisted. I think Jackson Dart is a good quarterback. I'm just speaking on the New York Giants situation.
Right.
You want to change this culture so bad, but you want to keep everything the same. Y'all are insane.
Come on, man.
You beg to change this culture. You beg and beg. We got to do something. This coach is all messed up, and we don't got no leaders, and we don't got nobody to step up. We need dogs. We need this. We need that. But nah, let's keep our image right, and let's get the proper face, and hope everything works. Hope for the best. Hope for the best. You don't want change. That's why this team is losing. You losing because you're not changing nothing. You know what I'm saying? So you want this culture. You want to die and ride and die with this culture. This is a losing culture, dog.
Isn't preference about not changing? Isn't preference about how you feel about what you want, what you think, what you need, and what's best for what you feel? Preference is also a personal agenda. And that's what the problem is. Our organization has a history, of nepotism. Nepotistic hires, nepotistic upbringing, and nepotistic internal leadership. Hardly outside hires, hardly outside agendas. Dave Gettleman, nepotism. Joe Shane is possibly the first outside hire. And when he walked into the Giants organization, he ripped down the board off the wall from the training room and said, get me some TVs in here. Get me some screens in here.
You know what Joe Shane did when he got hired? He hired his friend,
His man.
Brian Dable.
A nepotistic hire. A nepotistic hire. And a lot of this, people are going to say, oh, man, you know, it's a convoluted conversation. No, it's not. You're not looking at the things within the organization that allows you to feel how you feel every Sunday. It starts at the top. Quotation marks. And we never get a chance to talk about what goes on at the top. And the reason being is because not a lot of you are old enough to understand the history. Not a lot of you are old enough to understand the inheritance. Not a lot of you are old enough to understand the unconscious decisions that are made that have no thought process behind them, because it's a preferential thought process. And that's what this is about. Preference and equals racism. So we're going to touch these topics, and it's going to make you think. It's going to make you say, wow, I never looked at it like that, because you don't have to, because we're looking at it like that for you. It's time to open up the looking glass, the microscope, or whatever it is that you need. If you wear bifocals, put those on. Whatever allows you to read closer, see better, but most of all, not be fooled about what's going on in your face right in front of you. Let's talk about how the Giants are about to make history again. By letting go your number one offensive weapon, we are about to play the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday. Saquon Barkley only needs 101 rushing yards to break Eric Dickerson's single season rushing NFL all-time record. You know what preference also brings? The bad end of history. We are about to be on another bad end of history.
Yeah, and it's always at the hands of who? The Philadelphia Eagles, who take the black quarterback, who take the black player, you know, who you got a black guy that could possibly replace your bum ass general manager, excuse my language, but and Brandon Brown from Philly. As much as I hate Philly, Philly don't let that shit get in their way.
Right.
They take the players. They was willing to pay Saquon Barkley. You know, they was willing to trade for AJ Brown, who everybody thinks is a head case. They was willing to take a chance on Jalen Hurts in the second round, who, you know what I'm saying, who ain't good, to be honest with you. But again, they took a chance on him. They got him to a Super Bowl. Like, so again, look at your organization. And it ain't even about color. It's about how you are structured. You go out of your way to avoid players with character concerns. But everything about your organization right now is a character concern. Make it make sense. Y'all got it.
What characters do we have in the building? Do the Giants have an offensive leader? Do the Giants have a defensive leader?
Let's keep it a buck. We got some cartoon characters in the building, but I'm going to do this little part right here, and I'm going to talk my talk real quick, and I'm going to call out some people. We'll be right back. All right, so this is me, Big Pat Sports Talk, and I'm going to call out this whole fan base, because obviously we all know that John Mayer listens to the fan base and he makes moves based on what this fan base wants,
Yes,
correct?
he does.
Yes, he does.
So this fan base literally had its first opportunity to change the culture and change the preference when Brian Flores was able to be hired. But they didn't do it. You want to know why? Because most of this fan base was, Brian Dable, he's the offensive genius, and he trained up Josh Allen, and he's going to make us score 40 points a game. Yeah, give us Brian Dable, Brian Flores is going to keep us to where we only play good defense, and we want Brian Dable. I remember that like the back of my hand.
Yep.
From young to old, everybody wanted Brian Dable. And guess what? You allowed his Joe Shane's preference and nepotism to be right. And he chose his best buddy, Brian Dable. There was no pushback on that. It was people even talking about Brian Flores was a clown for wanting to sue the Giants because of stupid Bill Belichick. Wrong, Brian. That was your first opportunity for change. Because to be honest with you, Brian Flores is a leader of men. Brian Flores is about his business, and Brian Flores looks like me. We actually kind of look alike a little bit if you put on glasses.
No bullshit.
But that was your first opportunity for change. And you didn't want it. You didn't want it. So now you go through all these years with Daniel Jones, 3 more years of Daniel Jones. And the whole time, man, we just need a quarterback. We want a quarterback. We want a quarterback. We want a quarterback. We're a quarterback away. We're a quarterback away. So now you have the opportunity for an even bigger change. Now the face of your franchise can look like me, NYG, and E with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. And now it's, oh man, you can trade back and get a whole draft haul. We failed at number 4. I'm not trading up for Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. But you were willing to give up 3 years draft for Drake May.
Make it make sense.
Yeah, right.
So you can sit here and complain about prejudice and racism and the Giants are a racist organization, but you allow them to do it. I promise you that you allow them to do it. You allow them to get away with making secondary players, black players, is be a star of the franchise and using them to put butts in seats, like a Odell Beckham, like a Saquon Barkley, like a Victor, like a Lawrence Taylor, like a, you know, the list goes on and on. Justin Tuck.
It does.
You allow all that to happen, but you didn't stick up for Plexico Burress.
Nope.
He didn't go out there and do nothing egregious. He just made a mistake. He had his pistol on him in the club, and he hit his pocket and went off. He didn't smack nobody around and do anything. And they wanted to get rid of him for that because it was a little bit of bad news. You didn't stick up for Plaxico Burress, now did you?
Nope.
But nobody came out and said anything about that kicker until the league investigated him.
Josh Brown.
And everything was brought out about him, and now all of a sudden you want to say something. But the rumors were out there for weeks, and nobody, they only suspended him for 1 game. Everybody was cool. Nobody wanted to investigate that. Get him out of here. We need change. Nobody investigated that. You let it go on. But Plexico Burress, he makes a mistake, and he harmed himself. He didn't harm nobody. He just harmed himself.
Yeah.
You're so stupid. You costed us a Super Bowl. Get him out of here. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole lot of history on both sides. That's why I always stay open-minded, and that's why I don't go all the way in. Oh, the Giants are so racist and everything.
Right.
If you feel like that, you wouldn't even be rooting for them. You wouldn't even watch them every Sunday. If you really felt like that.
Right.
Like I said, it's an NFL problem, Pat.
Yeah, it's an NFL problem.
If you wanna put that racist card on the New York Giants, you can put that on all 32 teams. I promise you.
Yeah, because it's history in every 32 team.
Every team, bro. Every single team, bro. You know,
and if I'm not mistaken, NYG, I think it's only 13 teams remaining that has never actually hired or drafted a black quarterback. I think it's only 13 teams in the league that have never either hired or drafted a black quarterback or a head coach. But I'll definitely do some research. I think my facts are absolutely right. If anybody facts check me, I think it's 13 teams that have
But
Yeah,
actually
that's extremely
still.
high. But
I want you to look towards the top. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I want you to look more towards the top. How many owners, part owners, contributors, whatever have you, that got stakes in the NFL franchise? That's why I say if you want to look at racism, look at it from that angle. It's about power. You
Yeah.
think the NFL care about a black person being a quarterback of a team and paying them a couple $1 million? But they damn sure care if you got a seat at that table and you getting that shared revenue that the NFL shares between all 32 teams. That's
Let's
how
talk
you
about it.
know. That's how you know
Now,
they
if I'm
are
not mistaken,
all
right?
in on it. They're all in on it. That's how, hold up real quick. That's how
Yeah.
you know they are all in on it, because they share revenue. So if the Giants are racist, they all racist.
that's a fact. Go ahead, E.
What I was going to ask is, let's get into some specifics. The Harris Group, right? For the Commanders. Is Magic Johnson a part of that Harris Group?
I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna keep it real with you.
But you
He's
got
a
to look at
part of it.
percentage.
He's a part of it, but he's just the mascot. To be honest
Yeah,
with you,
pretty
he's the
much.
Okay,
face.
so
He's the
this
guy
is
that
why
smiles.
I brought it up.
Yeah,
Come on, let's get into it.
yeah, he's
Let's
the
get
guy that
into
smiles.
owners, right? And let's get into, I'll use the word mascot. That's that word I'll use today. I would have used a different word. But today let's use mascot. NYG, I'm gonna go to your franchise, right? Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. People like Jay-Z. Is this a comparative for the Harris Group Magic Johnson to the Brooklyn Nets and Jay-Z's usage? Culture, need for culture, need for face of a culture, need for embracing a culture, because we all know Washington, D.C. is Chocolate City, right? We all know Brooklyn is the heart of New York City, right? So
Keep talking.
when you bring these two Aboriginal men who are well known, well loved, star power, very famous, an attractive piece, right, to a situation which brings financial resources, right, and financial stability in an area you're lacking, which is Aboriginal sales, right? Here we go again. It also brings about a slave-minded mentality. I only need you for what I need you for, but I will never allow you to sit at the table you're begging to be at.
Thank you.
Man, it goes back to Dan Snyder, bro. They had to change their image because of Dan Snyder was doing all type of dumb stuff. And guess what? You lost the Redskins name because they came at you about that was being, prejudiced and racist. Dan Snyder was doing his dumb stuff, doing the dumb stuff with the cheerleaders, saying little racist things here and there. So we're gonna, let's just say it. White group comes in. Okay, we want to buy the Commanders, but we got to change the image. Magic Johnson, Showtime, put him right there. Let him smile. Let him shake some hands. Let him kiss some babies. Let him do the Showtime thing. Let's go get Jaden Daniels. Now Chocolate is back in Chocolate City. That was it. That's it.
And they trying to do the same thing with the New York Giants. But guess what? The owner's in the way. The owner's in the way. They trying to do the exact same thing with the New York Giants. Think about it. E just mentioned it. New York, Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Neither with the Giants nor Jets. Ain't no color over here, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, again, you got to peek the money, the market, and the culture. This is what the Giants is missing. The Jets always had their head in the sand. You can't follow them. You know what I'm saying? But the Giants, bro, you are the premier franchise in this area. You know? So you don't have no color, and you expect young black kids to grow up, even kids in general, to grow up watching you as you go through Daniel Joneses and Tommy DeVitos and Drew Locks and Drew Allers and whoever other white quarterback you want to bring in here. You think that's going to sell? You think that's going to sell? You not winning nothing, and Malik Neighbors putting up 1,500 yards a season. You think that's going to get it done and bring fans to the stadium? You tried it with Saquon Barkley. Didn't work.
Tried it with Odell Beckham.
Odell Beckham didn't work. You need a culture change. It's so important that I mention that word, because that word gets thrown around a lot, but they are always talking about, getting the locker room straight and making sure nobody gets out of line. I'm talking about culture, as in culture. I do a segment on Heart of the City. We coming back in 2025 called NYC Culture. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these young players can't relate to Daniel Joneses and some of these quarterbacks. Why you think they get so hyped when Drew Lock get out there? He a white guy, but he got a little bit of flavor, a little bit of You know what I'm saying? You can't get by with this robotic stand-up, hey, my name is so-and-so, and it don't resonate with your team. They will respect that guy because guess what? You got to. He ain't done nothing wrong. I respect Daniel Jones. I respect whoever else. It don't get it done because team NFL players, sports players in general, they want to play with and for players they can relate to. You know what I'm saying? They can relate to in one way or the other. When you got somebody that can't relate to, you can't relate to, and you ain't good on top of it, you know, Eli Manning was balling. He could get by with the aw shucks. He was a surgeon, you know, with the mental. That's what I'm looking at with Shedeur Sanders. He just don't look like Eli. So it ain't never about on the field. It's always deeper. That's why I'm glad you did this show, Pat.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna let E wrap it up. I'm gonna say this. You just hit the nail on the head. We don't have the right culture at certain positions on this team. Malik Neighbors needs a dog at quarterback. That's why he loved Jaden Daniels so much.
Yeah.
You know? Somebody like Brian Burns or Kayvon Thibodeau, they need a dog to look up to. You're going to respect just about anybody that comes in there as long as they don't do nothing to you. You'll respect him and you'll love him for who he is. But I can't resonate with you. Daniel Jones don't have clout to go with the Malik Neighbors and say, man, don't drop the fucking ball no more. Bitch, catch the ball. Shedeur Sanders does. Daniel Jones can't get nobody hyped to go into the game. You in the locker room with a bunch of brothers. Daniel Jones ain't getting none of them brothers hyped. You play football. I play football. It's not like somebody that resonates with the team and gets you hyped. You should play above your level because your energy and your adrenaline is so damn high. And I know this dude right here that's leading us. That's my dude.
Yep.
I gotta go out there and ball for him. Because he gonna make me look good, and I gotta make him look good. That's just a respect factor. Shedeur Sanders can do that. You can resonate with these guys. And then he comes from a pedigree. He gives you what you need. He gives you everything but his color. Everything everybody wants in a quarterback that everybody's talking about, could throw tight window throws. He could do that. Got good arm strength. He got that. Has good awareness. Got that. Can move in the pocket. He got that. Has a dog mentality. He got that. Very cerebral. Got that. Trained by some of the greats, Tom Brady, all those guys. Got that. Only thing he ain't got is the color of that jersey in the background right there. It's the only thing he ain't got. And that's going to stop you from drafting that guy? This is how I know I'm going to do a lot more Talk Your Talks. And it's going to be more about Giants, more than just Giants. It's going to be about a whole bunch of things, just sports talk in general. But let's have these conversations. E, go ahead.
Two things, right? We talking culture. At this point, who's the Giants leader in the locker room when it comes to a coach? Who's the Giants leader on the field? Who's the person to get everybody riled up, to get them right, to say, let's do it? I mean, don't get it twisted. There are people that give speeches, but there are people that also have to inspire. We've heard speeches from many people in this world, but how many of them inspire? They have a little dash in their name under each time they've inspired, because those speeches are historical. Those speeches have reached a pinnacle in our lives. Those speeches have actually spoke to our lives and our situations. Who's doing that on the Giants? I guarantee you the last 10 years, not one quote from a Giants player or coach will be anywhere in the NFL, wherever. You know, when we see these little NFL shows and they got quotes like, let's go out there and play like crazed dogs. And then they got the little dash and it says Lawrence Taylor. In the last 10 years, you won't have not one player with an NFL quote posted from the New York Football Giants. Now, Pat, I'm going to take this somewhere where nobody wants to go, but that's why Talk Your Talk is Talk Your Talk. We talked about the color of Shedeur Sanders, right? The swag he brings, the leadership, the football presence, the IQ. He can make every throw. He's an actual perfect prototypical quarterback, except for the color of his skin, right? When we're talking about the Giants. I want to talk about the color of a quarterback's skin, that he had to be that color in order to have that done. I'm gonna ask your brothers a question, and I'm gonna end it with a question. And I hope the rest of the world can respect what I'm about to ask, because I want them to answer it too in the comment section when they get a chance. If Daniel Jones was black, would the New York Football Giants have done that to him? The way that man was treated on his way out the door. If Daniel Jones was black, would that have happened to him?
I'm going to tell you what, E. I'm going to say no, too. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if he's a colored quarterback, it don't get to that point.
That's a fact.
You probably gone after 2 years. Be dead honest with you. They would have canned him a while ago, bro. You don't get 6 years.
Justin Herbert would have been a New York Giant if Daniel.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. You getting canned quickly. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't think, you know, it would have been any different. You know what I'm saying? I just think we wouldn't have been hearing about it as long.
There's a second part to this question after Pat answers it. That's why I'm smiling. Because remember, the topic is culture. So I'm waiting for Pat to answer. And I'm going to say something right after that. Go ahead, Pat.
No, like NYG said, they would have never got to that point. You would have had that rookie season. Only thing they would have been talked about is his turnovers. He would have went into the second season, would have had more turnovers. He would have went into his third season. It would have been benched. That's what would have happened to him. That's a fact. That's just an absolute fact. But go ahead.
So y'all ready for this now? I'm going to end it off this. I hardly ever smile on camera, but I'm going to end it with this. Look exactly what culture took over, even though it was done to a white quarterback. Look who responded to their brother in arms. Look at the players that spoke out. Not one white player spoke at all. Look who actually acted the way they did on the football field because his color didn't matter to the players that loved him. The culture changed the day Daniel Jones was released when he asked for it from the New York Football Giants. Life left the building.
Shit,
So
it's
no
the only
matter
thing I
what,
can really hold on to.
exactly. I felt the same way this season when it came to life as I did when Tom Coughlin walked off that stage and didn't shake John Mara's hand. I am on video, audio, and everything. I said, I am going to now pay attention to what the New York Football Giants become right now. Ever since then, we have become one of the worst franchises leadership-wise in NFL history.
That was our last leader. When he walked out the door, that was our last leader. Because you started pushing him out with the Ben McAdoo situation because that's who you wanted to replace him. Because he was the quote-unquote offensive genius. He was the quote-unquote new age guy. And guess what? Giants fans call you out again. Let me put myself on the screen. That's what you wanted. And you got it.
Right.
That's a fact. You got it. You wanted the old dog out. That was your leader. The guy that you could count on. The guy that he may say some things that rub you the wrong way, but it was the truth. It wasn't no my truth, his truth, her truth, whatever truth. It was just the truth. He told you the truth. And guess what? You know how he was a real leader? He actually pulled it back when his leaders of the team said, man, you got to pull it back a little bit.
Thank you.
And then allow Michael Strahan to come in, not play any training camp or anything. And guess what? They won a Super Bowl when he pulled it back. He started eating burgers with the team. You know what I'm saying? He still kept his, goals and everything. He still kept the way.
That ass better been there 5 minutes early.
You better been there 5 minutes early.
late.
But they can accept that because he pulled back. He stopped being Super Saiyan level 3 and just came down to level 2 and was like, you know what? I'm going to let y'all do what y'all do a little bit. Don't get it twisted. I'm still Tom Coughlin. Don't do no dumb shit. I'm going to let y'all do something, but don't do no dumb shit. I'm going to turn back up. And they didn't do no dumb shit. They fixed what they were fixing early in the season, and they went on to win a Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl. And then he learned, you know what I'm saying? They went through a little turmoil. We hate Eli Manning bullshit, and we hate Tom Coughlin. We want you guys fired. And then they got the second Super Bowl. And then you turned on them again. After he's won you 2 Super Bowls, his stupid fan base turned on him again. Yep. We want Ben McAdoo. Because that's all you heard. Ben McAdoo was next. He's from the Packers. He worked with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, points.
Points. And didn't do nothing. Guess what led you to the only playoff season during that time? The defense. I mean, we was winning 7-3, 10-7. It was the
Jerry Reese went out and spent over $100 million on getting that defense right in 2016 with Snacks, Olivier Vernon. Yeah, he went out and got Jack Rabbit. Yeah.
And guess what? That defense had leaders on it. That's why that defense was balling. Doing shit. Doesn't it look like that now?
Yeah.
In the beginning of the season, the defense was balling. The offense wasn't doing shit. Your quote-unquote offensive genius every time gets you messed up. And guess what? When John Mara doesn't listen to you, he listens to himself. And guess what? He crazy too, because you always get a freaking Bill Belichick disciple or do a nepotism hire, and you screw up too. So what we're losing as a team is a smart guy in the building. And as of now, we still don't have that. We got some couple of sly foxes in the building, but they're not smart.
Not at all.
And I think that guy, to be honest with you, and this is not even a color thing, I think Brandon Brown gets it.
Yep. I think we all agree.
I read energy off people. When that dude speaks, the way that dude's mannerisms are, the way he approaches things, that's your guy.
Yeah.
But you got him in the secondary position.
Yep.
Pat, is one other guy I want to mention. I want to give him all the kudos and respect in the world. And a lot of people don't realize it. He was on Hard Knocks, right? For the first episode. He spoke for about 3 to 5 minutes, and we never saw him again. That second guy, his name is Eric Rosselli. If you go to Hard Knocks, you'll see him. He said, "Are we ready to lose our number one player? What will be our culture if we lose Saquon Barkley?" And he spoke up and spoke out, and you never saw him again the rest of the 5 episodes. His name is Eric Rosselli.
Yeah. Because the nepotism's in the building, the sly foxes are in the building, but there's no general in the building.
Yep.
Tom Coughlin, you had a general in the building. With Bill Parcells, you had a general in the building. I don't give a shit what you talking about. I got my vision. Get me what I need to go get to my vision. If I fail, I fail. But more than likely, in my mind, we're not going to fail as long as you do what I need you to do and when I tell you to do it. Now you got a bunch of sly foxes in the building that think they're smarter than everybody, which you're really not that smart. And I ain't gonna say I can't stand people like that, but I don't like those people around me. Those people that truly believe they're smarter than everybody in the room. I'm this, I'm that. And a guy like, per se, me or NYG or even E, we're just sitting there looking at you like, dude, you are a jackass. That's not going to work. But they're not leadership enough to know that, hey, sometimes somebody that's even below ranked than you might have an idea to help your silly ass out. And guess
And
what?
that's where having smarter guys in the building than you comes from. Tom Coughlin wasn't the smartest guy in the building. He hired smarter guys around him. He just set the tone in a culture which allowed smart guys to be emphasized and actually things translated onto the field. Everything Tom Coughlin did in an office translated to the football field.
Leaders of men. Leaders of men know that I got to have somebody real smart on my side because they may see something that I don't see.
Absolutely.
Leader of men. I know that you're smarter than me at this. That's why every king has a strategist.
That's why
smart.
Andy Reid can let Steve Spagnuolo run his defense and not worry about it.
That strategist is smart than you know what, but he doesn't know how to lead.
This is why Deion Sanders can let a Pat Shurmur teach his son all the things that's necessary. And in the offseason, have a Tom Brady right there to develop him.
See what I mean?
See, Andy Reid is an anomaly. He's a leader of men and he's a strategist on top of it.
I'm here, fellas. I just got to make sure I take care of the family, the kids real quick, check on them. I'll be right back.
We're getting ready to end it. But you got people like Andy Reid, who's a strategist and a leader of men. That's why he has been to multiple Super Bowls. I think he's been to 5 Super Bowls and won 3. Then you have people like Dan Campbell. He is not the smartest in the room. But damn it, you're going to respect him and he knows where to put you at. Okay, you're smart right here in this area. You get your ass right over there and you work out what you need to work out over there. Don't you move. I know how to put everybody in position that is smart at what they do at. And when we combine that together, we're a force. But I have to be the leader to do it because I have the moxie to do it. And I have the respect of my peers below me. So when I tell you to do something, you're going to do it. And I'm going to tell you in a way where you feel important because you are.
Why do coordinators go on to be head coaches?
And then ask yourself this question. Why do most of those offensive coordinators that go on to be head coaches fail?
Because they know how to be good at a position, but they don't know how to lead in all 3 phases.
They don't know how to lead. You know why? Because most of them like this.
Exactly. So you're not watching what's going on around you.
Right.
see when Malik Neighbors is going through something
Head in the
and he's going
playbook.
to drop this next pass.
Right.
So you don't see, hey, hold on, what you got going on? Man, I know I dropped that. Man, I don't want to hear that. You Malik Neighbors, go out there and catch the fucking ball. I'm not in here with a play sheet.
You know
And my
saying?
guy over there, he's going through whatever he's going through.
And then you
Kayvon
compound
Thibodeau-
the fact with the Giants, you don't have no leaders on the field either.
At all.
You know why you don't have no leaders on the field? Because they're not being led by a leader. They have no example to go out there and do it.
Exactly. Who you can't follow. You have to be able to follow in order to lead.
Yep.
When you don't have an example to look up to, guess what? You struggle. When you don't have a father in life, you struggle. You got to go out there and learn it yourself.
And this is a
That's
very
what's
young
wrong
team.
with this culture.
Yep.
Everybody that you hire is not a leader of men. And when you got all these young kids, draft after draft after draft after draft after draft, and they can't look up to somebody and be like, that's what a leader is. Justin Tuck had Tom Coughlin to look at. Okay, Tom Coughlin does this. Y'all tripping. We gonna do this, and get this together because this is what Tom Coughlin would have done. You don't
What did
have
their
that
parents say, Pat? What did Giants fathers and mothers say about their children? They said, we are their parents. But
Facts.
Tom was another father to my son. He helped my son become a better man. Look at the men that are produced by Tom Coughlin. Not near one of them you can name that's in trouble.
Look at the leaders that he built. Strahan was not the leader that he was until Coughlin got there. Tuck, leader. Ossie, leader. Pierce, leader. Kiwanuka, leader. Grove, leader. Ward,
Eli.
leader. Eli, leader. Jacobs, leader. Bradshaw, leader by the way he played on the field, the way he went out there. It didn't matter if he had hurt ankles, nothing. He went out there and he showed
Screws
what it
in
was.
his foot.
Sean O'Hare, leader. David Dill, leader. You see what I'm saying? All throughout the team, leaders, because you know why? They had an example. I don't have an example with Brian Dable. I have an example of scapegoating. So when I drop the ball, I scapegoat. I don't take leadership upon myself and take it to go out there and do better. I look at my hands. I shake my head. I go to the bench with my head down. Do that shit with Dan Campbell. Do it with Dan Campbell. He showed it in that freaking Hard Knocks video. That tight end that go up there and block for his person. Bring your ass over here. You block for that man. And if you don't do it, we know what the fuck you are. You're going to get off this team. Guess what? He went out there and did it the very next drive. That a boy. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have that on this team.
Damn near impaled that boy into the grass.
That's what leaders of men bring to a team. That's what leaders of men bring to life. Facts. There's plenty of young men out here that didn't have a father figure, but there was somebody at the freaking gym that they went to, a OG that they went, a real OG, not an OG that's selling drugs or doing a real OG that has a family, and he sees that he's how great he is with his kids, how he leads his kids, and they look at him and like, damn, how you do that? Well, let me come over here and let me talk to you, young man. Pull a seat. Just his energy alone makes you better. We ain't had that since Tom Coughlin.
Amen.
We ain't got it now. That's for sure.
Damn sure ain't. Yo, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know when it's gonna happen, right? But I do know one thing. It has to happen tomorrow. Because it should have happened yesterday.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna leave y'all with this. If the New York Giants go out of their way to avoid taking a quarterback this year, when everybody in the world knows they need one, and they will and should be picking up near the top of the draft, and they go and they do something to go out of their way not to take one of these kids, I promise you, there will be a strong push for Mara to sell his team. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Tish gonna have to
Tell you
roll.
right now.
Tish gonna have to roll.
And I'm gonna be one of them. You know,
Tish
what I'm
gonna have to
saying?
roll too.
I'm gonna say this
Because yeah, Pat, just real quick, because to be honest with you, you know, you have a chance to make this right. You know what I'm saying? You have a chance to do the right thing. You know, and if you want to sell this 1970s, you know, we're gonna be the old Giants, and you know, we're gonna keep this image up and try to avoid character concerns and yada yada yada, whatever excuse you're making. If you're gonna do all that just to avoid taking a black quarterback when you've been screaming and crying for a quarterback for all these the past few years with Daniel Jones, you know, a white guy, you want change. And if you go out of your way, I promise you, there will be a strong push for Mara to sell this team, because there's going to be so much backlash. And at this point, there will be no denying that, yeah, you guys are racist. And I'm done.
And I only got one last thing to say. First of all, shout outs to everybody who watched tonight. Shout outs to everybody who was a part of this. Shout outs to everybody who are actual original thinkers. And shout outs to everybody who will understand this. And it should get the commentary, thought processes, and responses. I want to make sure I speak correctly. And the responses that it should get. Because this is a topic that has never been spoken about in depth the way that we are speaking about it. But most of all, this is a topic that incites thought processes for those of us that think beyond just the football field. And I want to thank Pat and NYG for having me tonight and allowing me to talk my talk. Thank you, brothers.
and that's a fact. We're gonna go to a little break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna end the show, man. The first official episode of Talk Your Talk. And the last thing I'm gonna say is John Mara needed Tom Coughlin too, because he's not a leader. That's just a fact. Tom Coughlin kept him in check. When Tom Coughlin walked out the door, you have a guy that's not a leader and doesn't know what he's doing, trying to play a leadership role, and this is the results that you get. But we'll be right back. All right, my brothers. Either Chosen One and Unpopular Opinion Sports, the first official episode of Talk Your Talk is in the books. We talked about Giants Black history. We talked about John Mara. We talked about racism. We talked about prejudice. We talked about preference. We talked about leadership. We talked about every single thing that we can literally talk about within the period of time that we had. And this is going to be the Talk Your Talk podcast. Whatever sports that you want to talk about, we're going to talk about this on the Talk Your Talk podcast. So if you're a content creator, holler at me. Come on here and talk your talk so your voice can be heard right here on the Big Blue Crew Sports Network. NYG, let them know where you at, and let them know where they can find you so we can get up out of here.
Yeah, you already know. Unpopular Opinion Sports. Bringing back Heart of the City. We'll be touching on topics like this on that podcast as well. And of course, man, you know me, man, 10 toes down with the Big Blue Crew Sports Network, man. Shout out to everybody on the network, man. We doing big numbers now, man. People are we're building, we're growing, you know, and I'm just excited for that. So definitely check out me on Unpopular Opinion Sports on the Big Blue Crew Sports Network, man. You know, I might pull up to the Shakedown Media, you know what I'm saying? Or might catch me, you know, some other podcasters too. Also catch me on Twitter, man. We about to get the spaces popping too, man. That's gonna be dope in the off season. So look out for that, man. But appreciate this, Pat, man. I need to get this off my chest, dog. I ain't gonna hold you, man. I need to get this one out, man. Pause.
That's what snarfs are here for.
Yeah. I know what time it is, man. HBO in the building. He the chosen one, Harlem in the Bronx representation. This is what we do, man. You know what I mean? And shout outs to Pat, man. Shout outs to NYG. Shout outs to the Big Blue Crew Sports Network. You know what I mean? Shakedown Media Network is the representation. E_the chosen one on Twitter. Everybody knows what time it is, man. I'm always pulling up the games. I'm always with my brothers from the Big Blue Crew. So we outside, as my brothers would like to say. You know what I mean? And I was excited about this, man. And I just want to be, thankful and let these guys know I was blessed to be a part of this. You know, the very first episode of anything is something that people are going to definitely look at. So thank you, bro. Shout outs to you guys. God bless everybody. And y'all know what time it is. Jesus is Lord.
Yes, sir. Talk your talk with my special guest, either chosen one in NYG Unpopular Opinion Sports. Go check those brothers out. Go like and subscribe to their channels. Their link will be in the description. And if you're looking, you might as well like and subscribe to Big Pat Sports Talk or the Big Blue Crew Sports Network as well. Don't be a ninja watcher. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. But episode 1 is in the books. And we out, man.
Rising Kev.